Welcome to Kickin' It with Mabel. Some of you may have had an opportunity to see my preview show a few weeks ago, and today is my debut show, so I'm so excited to have our viewers with us as well as our guests. So what are we going to be talking about on this show? A variety of topics, everything from the newest apps to newsworthy items, personal experiences, relationships, just whatever there is to talk about, we're going to discuss it here in a compelling, investigative, authentic way. Investigative, I'll probably bring that approach to it. So I want to introduce you to all of my guests. I will start off with Monica Gonzalez. Monica is a personal development coach. I know that you also engage in a little pole dancing, which I know is a lot of fun for you. And you also do business process optimization, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a little bit of Monica, but we'll hear a little more about her as we engage in our dialogue. We have Michael Hinton. Michael Hinton is a Juilliard graduate. He received his master's, worked with the New York Philharmonic, if I'm not mistaken. You also have worked on numerous Broadway shows here in New York City. And most recently, in recent years, you started going into Afro-Cuban music. As well as going into classical piano. So we have Michael Hinton. So all of our guests today are in different parts of the country. So that's what's lovely about the power of Zoom and my ability to be able to connect with all of you, our viewers. We also have Danny Arroyo, award-winning writer, producer, director, actor. Danny, thank you so much for joining us. We have Terrell Jones. Terrell is a national, international, former pro competitor. You also ran a dance studio and restaurant. You're a woman of many traits. You're an instructor, and I feel so privileged and honored to have all of you with us here today.
Hello. Thank you.
And so, as I mentioned, every week we're going to be talking about a different topic. And so this topic, it came to mind for different reasons. I did think of, during this quarantine, what I've heard from a lot of people is that it's given them some time to reflect. Most of us engage in our daily lives and don't have that opportunity because we're running to work and we're running home, and those that have children are running to help with homework. And quarantine really forced us, I hate to say force, but it motivated us to really sit down and ponder and sit down with our families. And so it stemmed a little bit from that, but I'll begin the discussion. So today's topic is going to be about centering ourselves. And what does that mean to all of us? And so I really had to think about that, and it's changed a bit over the last couple of days in the sense that I dug a little deeper. And what I found is centering myself, I'd like it to be something that I find within. But I've also learned that because of behavior over time, there's dialogue that has been shared with me since shortly after I came out of the womb. And just things that we learn as we're growing up and then as adults, and we accumulate all this information that, at least for myself, you begin, I don't want to say I've lost myself, but I sometimes wonder if I truly know myself. And so I've been engaging in work where I am learning, I guess, truly who am I? What do I stand for? You know, what are, they say deal breakers. What are my deal breakers? What do I really stand for? What do I hold near and dear to my heart? And it's something that I continue to, it's probably something until the end of my life that I'll continue to inquire about. But it's been a beautiful lesson as I continue to explore this. And so I wanted to find out from all of you, are there ways that you center yourself? Do you find that within? Is it something that is external? Is it internal for you? Two examples that came to mind And I know that for me, I am still looking for outside things that help me find. And when I think center myself, I think, when am I the most clearest? When do I hear that gentle whisper that lets me know this is what I should be doing? When do I listen to my gut? And most of the time I'm too busy and I don't actually do it. And the few times that I find that I do have actually been when I'm in a music environment. So as all of you know, and a lot of viewers that may know me, know that music plays just a very significant role in my life. And if I'm in a dance studio by myself seems to be the key, but when I'm in the studio by myself learning choreography, I don't have a care in the world. I could be, I don't know, someone could be hunting me down for taxes. I won't care. The moment I leave the studio, then I'm in trouble. Or being in a church by myself. There's something very, I don't know, the solitude or just being able to hear myself. So I get caught up in a lot of outside noise, whether that's mentally, just a lot of noises, a lot of noise happening up there, or just my external environment. So Monica, I'm curious. So for you, what does all of this mean?
Yeah, thank you, Mabel. One of the things that I found is whatever is happening around me, where can I sit down? Where can I be that I can just take a deep breath? And how I've found that there's been numerous things that I've been exploring, because I think that's what's allowed me to see is that I'm a constant explorer. I have to like continue to explore what that is. One of the things I found is being at the beach, having my toes in the sand and listening to the sound of the ocean allows me just to sit and just like take that deep inhale and exhale. Dancing is definitely one for me, where I can just walk into a place, and it doesn't have to be a studio per se. It could be just my bedroom and just turn off all the lights and just, there's nothing in my head, but just the flow of music and my body will just move. Also, I've like been constantly looking for ways to activate my senses, whether that's having like amazing clothes that just feel amazing, or scents that will like turn on like my sense, and just things like that. Looking for constant moments of bliss throughout my day is what I call it. That's what I've been playing with.
Michael, do you want to delve in?
I do want to say something to you, and that is, and I think in a way it got encapsulated by the fact that you took, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me, you took 3 perfect first takes at the beginning of this, you know, and and I think, you know, I think it's a gift in a way that we don't get to see our own face, you know, because you're beautiful. You know, if you were my daughter, I would say to you that if you could lose the self-consciousness, you know, in the book I Am a Cat, written all the way back in the 30s by a Japanese author, Soseki, he said that one of the things that he felt that was going to be a problem in the future is that we were going to become so aware of what we look like at all times, whatever comment, whatever we do, whatever gesture we make, that this self-consciousness is going to actually interfere. You know, God made you perfect, you know, so that's why, I mean, that's why maybe you feel good when you're in a church, is you can find that solace, you know, there. And so I would wish, you know, I would wish that you could, what is it, there's that question, where are you between your thoughts? If you could get more into that space, you know, then possibly, you know, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. It may never happen. I find, one of the things I find in playing music is that it's kind of like psychotherapy. You know, the second I begin playing, my mind goes over everything. You know, it's, you know, I'm talking to, it actually goes through everything that you would go through if you were in therapy. And it just goes on constantly. And at first I used to try to eliminate that. You know, I'd play faster or more difficult pieces or whatever. And then I finally realized that really I just have to develop my competency of what I'm playing so good that I can let all of those seemingly interfering thoughts happen. Just let them happen and not try to fight them, not try to center myself, to be completely uncentered but skillful enough in my practice that I can still do a good job. And then there may be brief moments, you know, that you know, maybe it comes together. Helen Hayes said it only happens once in your life. You know, she said it happened to Laurence Olivier once, where he was so good in the first act that they had to close the curtain halfway through the first act, and he locked himself in this room and he wouldn't come out. And finally, you know, his valet said, you know, Larry, don't you know how great you were just now? And he goes, yeah, I know, but I don't know how I did it. You know. So to get to that moment, to be in that moment, you know, you're lucky if it happens once. And in the meantime, I think you just practice. You practice your craft, you practice your skills, and if that practice is to look a certain way, to behave a certain way, we have a director with us, Danny. If to be able to manifest a certain thing, that's fine. But I think at some point you have to kind of hang that up on the shelf and just accept and love you the way you are, because that's the way God made you. And I can say more. You know, I once went up to a teacher of mine one time and I said I was practicing scales up and down in the marimba like forever, but my mind was so far away from where I was that I went to my teacher, Roland Koloff, who later was in the Philharmonic for many, many years, and I said to him, I said, maybe I should take a semester off, Roland, because I've been playing the scales for the last hour or two, and I'm not even sure I was in the room anywhere. You know, he shook my hand, and he said, you know, I've been there many, many times. He said, just go back there, keep doing your scales, because when you finally get back, you know, you really know your scales. And I found out later, I thought he was like the only normal artist that I had ever met in my life. He had children, they were in the baseball, they were, you know, he had a nice little house outside of San Francisco, actually. At the time he was in San Francisco Symphony. And I thought, oh my God, this is a true artist who has a normal life. I later found out that not only did he come from generations of schizophrenia, but 60 Minutes did an episode on him, divided between him and the guy who, A Perfect Mind or A Beautiful Mind or something from Princeton, the mathematician. Yeah. They gave Roland Koloff 30 minutes, and they gave this guy 30 minutes on 60 Minutes. To discuss his schizophrenia and how, you know, he coped with being in the New York Philharmonic. So I guess when he shook my hand and said, I've been there many times, he wasn't joking, you know. And it's just because he had to study every day just to be a good teacher and a good performer, you know. But, you know, I think you just have to embrace the interference and practice a lot. Anyway, that's out of love for you, because I don't want it I don't want it to make you feel like inhibited, you know.
Thank you, Danny. As Michael was, you know, he brought up so many great points. How do you express yourself, or how do you find, do you hear that inner voice? Do you find that you're always fully present? Because I think that's the other thing that I've asked people that are very close to me, around me, to remind me when I'm not being present. And now that they're doing that, I realize, wow, I am rarely present because I'm always multitasking. So I think that is part, in my humble opinion, of centering yourself, that, yeah, I'm not ever fully present. And at times I am, and at times, the other day, my dad is engaging and has numerous appointments, and I took him to the wrong appointment. And they said to me, no, that's tomorrow. And I said, no, it's today. It's on my phone. And my dad said, I told you that one was tomorrow. So then I called the other doctor and I said, are we supposed to be there? And she said, yes. And hence should have been present. But in the meantime, I was thinking about work. Oh, I have to rush home. And, you know, so presence is something I'm working on. So share with us, what are your thoughts just about this whole conversation, but being present and, you know, engaging even in your art?
I'll start off by saying, if you're feeling overwhelmed or you feel like you have too much going on in your life at the moment, or you have a lot of things you have to accomplish, just breathe first. Just get your breath. Just, just get your breath and don't judge yourself. That's something that people I see have a tendency to do. I'm guilty of it forever, and will always work on not judging. Oh, I should have done better. Why am I feeling this way? I shouldn't be feeling this way. I know better to feel better, and yet I'm not. So I don't judge myself. I understand that on this journey for the rest of my life, every day I will be always fighting uh, the thoughts that go in your mind. Hopefully they're better thoughts, but if there are any negative thoughts, um, this is why I meditate daily. This is why I journal. This is why I work out, because it brings me to my present. It brings me to my base. It brings me to my normal, which is here. It brings me here. So um, the less I judge myself and understand that as a human being, you will falter and you will make mistakes and go to different times for your meetings, or you think you have to redo a second or a third take. I just don't judge it. That's why we're here, to experience and have these things happen to us, and to so our higher being, our higher self, can experience what it's like. I hear people were talking about God. I'm not going to necessarily mention God per se. My belief's more energy and spirit. I just believe that we're here to experience these frailties as a human being. That's why our soul is here, because when it is just a soul and it's part of the ether, it's part of the matrix, it's part of the universe, it knows all, it sees all, it's in pure bliss. It chose to come here now in order to experience the frailties of human beings and how we think and things that happen to us. So I try to enjoy the mistakes I make. I try to enjoy and go, it's okay. I made a mistake. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to beat myself up on it. How do I avoid future mistakes? That's the experience. And hopefully on your journey, you will get better. You will find more happiness than sadness, more confidence than insecurity in that process. And you will find yourself much happier when you're able to um, work towards letting go of these insecurities or these negative things. How do you get there? How do you find your center? For me, it's if my mind is going too crazy and my meditations just don't quite are able to calm it down, though most times it does, I'll go for a run usually, or do some type of physical activity. I work out all the time. That makes my mind very clear, and I'm now present. And then maybe I'll jump into a meditation, and then I'm very present, and then I just do things that I enjoy doing. Um, for whether it's writing, I do enjoy the process of working. I do enjoy the process of being outside. I enjoy reading. And there's some days I just watch movies. There's no, and at the end of the day, I won't judge myself for having watched 3 movies and I've done nothing, because I enjoyed myself. And that's what I needed at that time. I didn't mean to go off on a huge tangent about this, but it's just, I think about this a lot and I journal a lot, and I'm always like trying to figure things out. And some days I really just get it and I feel really great and I feel really connected and I feel really happy. And then some days not so much, and then I just wonder why. And that's the journey we will all be on till the end of our days. Trying to always be happier than not happy. And hopefully most of us are successful in that journey that we're on. And there's more I can say, but I want to hear other people what they have to say.
Terrell, I know that you and I recently had a discussion and you brought up so many things that you left me thinking. And you were saying that it's been, and I'm going to paraphrase, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you made me realize what I already know. It's like, I know that I should be finding, I want to speak in an empowering way. My desire is to find that blissful moment from within, but I know it's been my experience that it is certain external things that bring me to that peace of mind on my own. I'm a work in progress. We're just being able to do it without some external factor playing a role. And you were saying, I don't know if it was you or your husband, we're saying, you know, everyone's trying to find that door. Everybody's trying to seek something out, when in turn, we are all the source. So I listen, and I know some of you as well. We read a variety of books, and actually, you can see I have quite the library. I should be using this time to read all those books, because they're the majority all self-empowerment books. But there's a book, Eckhart Tolle, Stillness Speaks, and it very much is about being present and not allowing those, I'm going to say, those voices to our viewers. It's not like I'm listening to voices. It's just, well, in actuality, I'm listening to the voices of my parents, teachers, all these people that have played a role throughout my 21 years. I'm joking. 22 that have played a role in my life. But I loved when you or Ennio said, you know, everybody's trying to find that door. We are that door. We are the source. Can you elaborate on that and just your thoughts?
Well, yes, I can. In my process of doing that, I was just, Danny, exactly. I mean, I'm right, exactly the same thing, the meditation, the journaling. For me, just the simplicity of just breath, however I can get to breath, because even though I need a calmness, I have chosen a life of surrounding myself with chaotic people like my husband. And so I have to be able to find that center no matter where I am, even in the midst of chaos. So for me, it's the search for equanimity, that calm within the storm, and let it go around. And so I think going back to the concept of mistake, I don't see things as mistakes. You prepare for something as well as you can, and then it is what it is. And a lot of times what we perceive as a mistake isn't necessarily a mistake with hindsight in the future. You look back and at the time it happens, you go, oh, that was terrible, it happened. And then time passes and you look back on it and you say, you know, that thing that I perceived as a mistake was actually a blessing that I had no idea until I am where I am now, until I've come to accept it. So just commenting on what was said prior, I'm right there. But for me, the lesson I had to learn starting very young is that everybody goes out searching. You're searching, you look in meditation, you look in religion, you look wherever. And the theme of the story always is, it was with you all along. And that's why I had used the Wizard of Oz, you know, no place like home. Well, you know, at the end of the movie, she realizes it was home. It was the place she had all the time, but she had to go to Wizard Land to find it. And so often we are searching for things, but what we really need to do is find a way to go inside. So whether it's through music, whether it's through working out, whether it's through meditation, what tools we use are going to vary from person to person. And we each have to find our path to get to the same thing. But the thing is within us all the time, the whole time. And that's, so whether you want to call it a doorway, whether, you know, whatever you want to call it, we already possess it. We already are it. So that's my little.
And do you feel that we get to it based on the quieting of our minds and the daily 60,000 thoughts a day that just comes through, that just keeps us from being present, or even just enjoying the simple pleasures of playing an instrument or writing or doing something that you enjoy? That's why that's why for me, when I meditate, it's like I'm training my mind to be more quiet and to not run away with a thought that then becomes 10 thoughts that then leads to an insecurity or a negativity or something, as opposed to, wait a second, let's quiet it down and things are great. Things are actually really going wonderfully. I'm overthinking this issue here, and it really isn't an issue. It becomes a lesson that you realize was a valuable lesson a year later. And why did I experience, why did I choose to experience that at the time? Like it's a problem. And then in hindsight, you realize it was a blessing, as you said, because what you learned from it helped you to become better. So if that's how all your missteps are going to be, they're going to become lessons that will make you better and happier in the future, then maybe I should see every one of those issues that come up as just learning experiences, and maybe not be so much, oh, this is terrible. Well, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe there's something more to this. And then you can be happier on your journey as you discover and learn during your missteps, because those missteps, I think, are valuable. Though at the time, sometimes they could be traumatic, but in hindsight, they are actually wonderful learning tools.
Absolutely agree. And I think that it varies. It's like that old adage about the blind man and the elephant, is it a wall, is it a rope, or is it a tree? And I think for myself, that centeredness, that equanimity, that calm within the storm, that feeling that we've all felt somehow, whether it's through music, through sports, through, we sometimes it's called the flow. If you're an athlete, you've been in the flow. If you've been a musician,
Yeah.
Right. There's different words for that, where it's just everything's just working, everything's in place the way it should be. And then other times you experience it through something quiet, whether it's a meditation, whether it's a walk in nature. So I think that we're describing, some people think it's a singular, but I think it's more of, it can be viewed different ways because we get there different ways. So.
Michael?
Yeah, I think I'm glad my wife's not here because she's trying to get me to work out more. And you guys, it's like I measure everything against an hour of practicing, and I think I have to actually, I think this is a message for me.
No, because it's the same with music. When you were talking about mistakes, I was sitting there and your scales, it's like you do the best you can, you do the work ahead of time, and then, but when it's time to perform, you can't think about those scales. You just have to trust the work was done, and something misses, it misses. You did the work and it doesn't change it.
And there is no such thing as coincidence. That's just not even a real thing. It's synchronous. So if you see that your wife was telling you in the nicest way, you should work out because I want you healthy, because I want you to be around as long as possible with me. And then you have two people here talking about how they train, in a busy, how many hours are there in a week? This is what I tell people when I used to train.
168.
How many? 168? Can you find a way to fit 90 minutes in a 168-hour work week or whatever week, and just fit 90 minutes? That could be three times in a week, half hour, and just do something, and you would see the benefit. This is what I tell people when I train them. It's all mental. Just find, oh, I don't have time. You have 90 minutes? I'm sure you do. There you go. You could do it. And then once you see the success happen for you and you start to see changes in your body, or you start to feel better in a way because you're doing it, you'll want to add more time to that 90 minutes. Next thing you know, you'll find 2 hours and still have plenty of time to work on your scales, work on your music, to do whatever you have to do. But I do emphasize health is important, and your wife is correct in wanting you to do that.
I think you said, we've been married 40 years, and we're still working on telling me the nicest way. I don't know where you got that, but.
Well, I've learned to always speak positively and speak nicely when I say what I got to say. So.
Yeah, right. I said, can't you say that in a nicer way?
Well, a few things came up for me from what you were saying is, Danny, what was the word that you said? Misstep. Was it misstep, I think, that you said? Because
I know I did say misstep at one point, yeah.
But it was something that was discussed, and I know I have a friend of mine who's serves kind of, in some manner, as a coach and mentor to me, and he always says to me that there are no mistakes. There is no right or wrong. There shouldn't, the shoulds and the woulds, things are as they're supposed to be. I believe that I do believe that there's a higher being watching over me, or the universe. I don't know if it's a higher being or if it's the universe, but I know that there's something bigger than I am that watches over me. And then if I'm going to go down, I don't know, I suppose I'm going to go down slightly a religious path and say, we have free will. And so I may be guided in a certain direction, but I can make a right, I can make a left, detour, and then end up somewhere else. You said there is no such thing as a coincidence. So I suppose that even if I made that detour or made that right or left, it was a lesson that I was supposed to learn that I didn't realize, and at the time probably won't realize.
Go further with that. You made a right or a left or a detour. Why? Was there an instinct or an inspired thought that said the left is better for me? That's your higher self talking to you. And sometimes you ever done something where you're supposed to make this left turn and you decide to make the right because your brain is just going, I want to go this way. And it probably might have been the wrong decision there. That's the idea of why people meditate and try to get into a clarity there, so they can stop the rambling of the brain going, but I want this. And yet you had a pure instinct initially that said, this is the way to go. So that's why people sometimes talk themselves out of something good. And it's your brain that, it is a wild animal sometimes that you have to calm it and train it to work for you as opposed against you. That's why people meditate. That's why people write and journal. And you see some people, kind of quote unquote lose it. And some have, a little more stability and they just seem happier because they've worked on that. And that's something that I've been doing for now many, many years, working on not going off and just trying to let my higher self guide through inspired thoughts, thinking, circumstances. So yes, you made those choices, but it's your inspired self that helped you decide on that. That's what I believe.
I know I recently shared with you, Danny, I was talking to a friend of mine and we were engaging in dialogue, and she said, we were talking lightly about the protests that we've seen, nationwide, globally. And it then led to something that was bothering me. And she said to me, what is your inner protest? And I thought, wow, that's beautiful. That statement stuck with me. And so since I had that conversation, I find myself, when I'm not in alignment, and for me, so I listen, and I know Danny and I had spoken about this in the past, I listen to Abraham Hicks, among many other people, Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer. And so for some reason, I just happen to click with the things that she says, and she talks about alignment. And so it took me a while to understand what she truly was saying. And the way I choose to describe it is when I am satisfied and at peace, when I'm just balanced, like even. I'm not extremely happy, I'm not extremely sad, I am just satisfied. And when I'm not feeling that way, and I'm feeling a bit anxious or nervous or worried, I just say to myself, okay, I'm out of alignment. Or now I say to myself, okay, what's my inner protest at the moment? And then I listen. And now I actually do that. And Oprah, I know, has said this, that like you just hear this silent whisper. And I'm not sure what that means. Is it instinct? I'm not quite sure what that is, but I do get a feeling, and it's like, okay, let's just go with that. I feel comfortable with it. I'm taking accountability for the decision I'm about to make, and let's move forward. I see you nodding, Terrell.
Oh, I'm agreeing with everything that was said. I mean, I think life could, for me, everything is take it down to its simplest form. For my teaching, everything I taught, I always take it down. So I kind of just dissect it down to a game of warmer, colder. Every decision, does this way feel warmer, or does this way feel colder? And as long as you keep moving toward the warmer, you're moving in the right direction, and just don't overthink it. Just trust the feelings. Your body knows, your soul knows, your spirit knows, you know. You just have to listen. And you just have to sometimes just quiet yourself and listen, and then you know where to go.
I'm curious, coincidentally, oh, and by the way, we had our other guest, Monica Gonzalez. She had to step off. So please excuse her, but she had shared with us she had another commitment. But all of us have chosen areas that are creative. And creative areas I find are a little chaotic. They're extremely enjoyable, but they are a little chaotic simply because, I'm not quite sure why that is. But we're always exploring new things, new ways. I have friends that are very much status quo, and they've had the same job for 30 years and in an office, in the same office. And there are moments when I think, I wish it was like that. I think life would be simpler. And then I think, I can't be like that. That's just not, I can't. I choose not to be that way because I get one life. I get one shot at this. And I want to do it fully, wholeheartedly, passionately. I don't want to leave a stone unturned. And that's just me. That's just my personality. But how do all of you, you were a competitor, where so-called quote perfection is required. Danny, for you as well, you're an actor, seeking roles and producing, and same thing. That word perfection has followed me throughout my life, and it's something that I continue to work on. And of course, Michael, in the profession you chose as well, it's like all these professions are about people, I'm going to call it the way I see it, where we're being judged. We're being judged by what we do and how we act and what we look like and how well we did it. And there are all these people competing for what it is that we choose to do. So how have you found ways? I mean, I thank you for what you've shared, but I'm curious, when you're in what you do, in your labor of love, how do you find that, and how do you get past that desire for perfection when everyone else is seeking that from you?
Who wants to go first?
Everyone's speechless. I know I am.
How do we seek that perfection is your question.
Or how do you not? Like, how do you not fall into that trap?
Well, I know when I was first starting out in this career, because I'm a filmmaker now, but I was acting when I was younger. I still act now. I remember watching certain roles in films, famous films, and I would be in awe going, how could I recreate what that actor did, or how they did it, how they performed, how they brought life to it. And I'm like, and I remember as a young person trying to mimic what they did. And as I got more experience, went to classes, was filming more, I realized, there's not just one way to do it. There's 100 ways to do it. There's 1,000 different ways to do it. There's going to be 1,000 different people that will give you that performance differently. Much like playing an instrument, much like playing music. Yes, you may play, as I remember that Michael said he was playing, he's practicing Bach quite a bit right now. I guarantee you get 100 people that play Bach, they will play his rendition, but their own version. So there really is no perfect way. It's how you do it, and then have the confidence to go, this is my version. I'm giving it the best way that you would like to see it, according to the character, according to how, let's say, Bach wrote that piece, how the writer intended this thing to be said, but it's still me that's performing it. And it took years for me to get that confidence to go, what I'm doing is good enough, But I think that's what everybody goes through in the beginning, is you don't know until you've gone through enough experiences to gain confidence. And I feel bad for the people that have been going at this for years, if not decades, and have not figured that out, and are still thinking they are wrong in their choice. Oh, I could have done this better. And, you know, maybe you could have done something better, but it doesn't mean still that your choices were wrong. Like revel in the fact that that's you giving that performance. And, you know, anything could be better with more practice, but don't think what the other person did was perfect and yours wasn't. That's coming from you. So I don't have that real problem anymore. I will do the best I can to give the director what they want, but it's still going to be what I'm able to give forth as me in that character. And I say the same thing for music or writers or anything like that. I think that's the same way. Have confidence in you.
I agree totally. You have to be authentically yourself. But I think as people think there is a specific right or wrong, like he said, and it's like, sometimes I want Italian food, sometimes I want Japanese food, which is the right one, which is the perfect flavor. And so when you say you're being judged, well, I don't know what flavor that person wants. And if I'm Mexican food and they're craving Japanese food, I'll never be what they want. It doesn't mean that I'm not being the best version of myself. I'm not authentically me, but I'm not what they want. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're in the mood for Japanese food. So as far as the judging per se, people that are doing the judging or doing the hiring or whatever it is that's being done, they have an image, they have something that they want. And we as the producers of that, whether it's music or acting or dancing, we're either the flavor that they want or they not, but it doesn't have anything to do with the quality of what we've done. As long as we are each authentically ourselves, doing the best version of ourselves in that, then we're being true to ourselves and we're being true to what we're being asked to do. And those that are judging, using your word, us, it's just they're making a choice. I prefer this over that. And that's their position, because they're hiring us to do something specific that's fulfilling their vision of what it is that they want.
Thank you for correcting me on that, because I agree with you. It's not judging, it's their choice. I mean, it's simply put, you know, you said you try to keep everything as simple as possible, and it is, and perhaps that's what it is. It's changing that frame of mind and not looking at it, not looking things as judgment, either what we do or what others are doing, but rather it's choices. It's simply choices. And everyone, like you said, everyone, you know, you either vanilla or chocolate, choose one. You know, I happen to like vanilla. There's nothing wrong with chocolate, but I happen to prefer vanilla. And I wonder, is this, we're no longer in our teens. I think that's fair to say for all four of us. I have found that as I get older, you know, I suppose it is maturity. It's clearly experience, just experiences that you have, dialogue that you have, you know, conversations such as this that allow me to, that open me up to, give me exposure to a different viewpoint, or even open me to a more elaborate way of looking at certain things. So when I talk to my coach, he's not saying anything I've never heard before. He just seems to bring it up in a way that I lose sight of it. I get, again, going back to being present. It's not that I'm not aware of certain things. It's just I get caught up in my everyday minutia and, you know, big scale. Everything's fine, you know. Yeah, when I look at so then something that you were saying, Danny, earlier, gratitude. I've been engaging in, I mean, I've always engaged in gratitude, but I've been doing it in a very conscious way. And in fact, engaged in a 30-day gratitude journaling process. And I found that was extremely helpful. And now I do a lot of writing as well. Just sharing my thoughts. Yeah, and I find it extremely helpful, but the gratitude, as soon as I wake up and before I go to sleep, just the little things. It's like, you know, I have my health, you know, my parents are fine, they're healthy. I haven't lost anyone. We have a home. We have, I'm working, like they're just, it doesn't have to be huge things. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Can I hear you?
First of all, I hope you go back and listen to what Danny. It says Peter here, but you're Danny, right?
Yeah, that's just I'm a comic book nerd, so I
Oh,
read.
Peter. Okay,
Yeah,
I get it.
Piper.
Right. Okay, I get it now. That's wonderful. All right. Let me try to unmute myself.
You're unmuted.
Hear you.
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. So I hope you go back and listen to what Terrell said and what Danny said, because they were really speaking to you in a very deep way. Because I mean, I find looking back, when I did all of those jobs that you put on your resume, for there was a while in which I was seduced into thinking that I was that job, especially the ones that took a long time. And, and then as time went on, and I realized, especially now that I'm, quote, retired, I realized that really what was happening is that my whole being 100% of the time, emotionally, all my emotions are translated into rhythm, and it was useful, as Terrell said, it was useful for a time to different people for different reasons, so that I would come to a job and, and I thought I was becoming what they wanted, but I was just useful in a sense. And so I think by just cultivating whatever you think of your craft. And by the way, just bringing us together, I thank you. It was really wonderful. Look at what you did. That is your job today. And you did it magnificently. I really enjoyed meeting both of you. I have to go in a second, but it was really wonderful. And next time I see you, I will give you a report on my 90-minute. My 90 minutes a week. Maybe it'll be and I will.
Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Just
Yeah.
30 minutes in that day to just do something.
Yeah.
For your health.
I thank you for that, and I also, you look like you should be carded still, so you must be doing something right. Anyway, so Mabel, I think your guests today, they spoke to your heart, and I want you to go back and actually listen to what they said to you and write it down and engrave it on your heart. And then I have to go. I'll tell you one thing. That same teacher I brought up, I don't know why he keeps emerging today, but one time he said, he was kind of very formal, because he had to rehearse everything, like how to say hello and every day. And he said, Michael, sit down for a minute. And I sat down, and he says, you know that song, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream. He said, it's true. So I don't know why I want to say that to you, but I think it's maybe that was centering,
I think it was, Michael. That wasn't a coincidence.
Yeah, because we're in the stream, but you can row. That's about it,
I like the simplicity of it.
Right.
We're just flowing and following the path.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. The simplicity.
Right.
Everything I do, I try to take it down to its lowest common denominator. How simple can I make it?
Yeah.
The rest of life, everybody else makes things complicated around me, so I have to find the simplicity in my life.
Yeah.
Abraham Hicks, as Mabel mentioned, because I do listen to her often, said the path of least resistance is what your higher self will always be aiming for, and that's hence your song, hence the simplicity of life. So, yeah.
That makes such sense. That really resonates, because when you think about it too, because when you can execute something, quote, perfectly, right, the surprise always to yourself is that it was effortless.
The flow.
Yeah. I mean, whether I don't golf, but I've hit a few drives, and the time that the ball went. I mean, I've really only done this 100 times. I had 100 balls in the bucket, and you hit one and it goes forever, and you go, I didn't do anything, right? So there. Anyway, I think I got to go. Somebody's having a birthday party I have to go to at 6:30 on Zoom. Yeah, I'm gonna put something stronger in this coffee cup, maybe. All right.
Nice meeting you, Michael.
I loved meeting you. It was just great. Anyway, give my regards to Monica, and I will see you. I'll talk to you soon, Mabel.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for
Thank
inviting
you.
me. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you, you too.
Mike, and then there was three. Michael brought something up, and two of you may have heard this. Wayne Dyer, I've heard him say that there was a book, and he's had so many books on the bestseller list, and he called his wife. So when you're on the New York Times bestseller list, you had a number that you could call and find out if your book had made it. And so he called his wife and he said, you know, am I on it? Am I on it? And his wife said, nope. And he was like, what do you mean I'm not on it? But I've been on it for the last, you know, so many months and weeks. And she's like, no, you're not on it. And he's like, but, you know, and he's getting all frazzled. And she's like, your book is on the New York Times bestseller list. And I was like, wow, that was beautiful, bringing it to its simplest form. It wasn't him, it's the book. And yeah, I guess simplicity at its best, that really is, that's where we find our center.
I just think too many times people complicate things. They make things more difficult. You know, people say, well, you know, how do you stay in shape? They want some magic pill. It's like, you just do the simple stuff. You eat right and you exercise consistently for a lifetime. It's simple, right? And there's nothing fancy. Nobody likes to hear that simple answer. And it doesn't mean that you can't have a day watching 3 movies in a row and eating everything in the cabinet, because that's only one day. But if it balances out the rest of the week, so what? You've spent one day there, but over the course of the week, you still ate. Most of it was good, and most of it was positive workout. And so you were paddling upstream. So one day you let the stream carry your boat down, but the other 6 days you were paddling vigorously upstream. You still made a forward progress. And it's the law of incremental change. And it's a fascinating concept if you haven't looked it up, but it's the thought of 1%. Everybody tries to make 100% change or whatever, but the incremental change is if you can do 1% better today than you did yesterday, and then tomorrow you do 1% better than you did today, over a period of extended amount of time, that's the Grand Canyon, 1 grain of sand at a time. So keep it simple, 1 grain of sand at a time, incremental change, consistency, keep it simple.
I find that mindfulness, I used to think I was mindful, and then I realized that I actually wasn't. And now that I am more in tune with that, and just certain concepts, you know, I mentioned integrity at the beginning, but simple things, you know, like let's say right now, you know, with the pandemic and COVID-19 and the quarantine, something simple as I'm very mindful now that it's becoming second nature. When I go to the grocery store, you know, I actually ask the cashier, you know, how are you? You know, how's your family? And, you know, thank you so much for being here. You know, because you're here, I'm able to get groceries. And it goes along with the gratitude. Like I'm finding if I come from a place of love and kindness at every situation, for me, what I'm realizing now, that's a place of simplicity rather than coming in with judgment. You know, I don't like that word. It's not very empowering. But yeah, I find myself often just saying, you know, just come from a place of love and kindness in every situation, regardless of what I may encounter, and not having any expectations. But I found that in doing simple things such as that, just thanking, saying hello, that's actually made a difference. Or at times, like I had a situation, this was about a year ago, where I really was working on integrity. Like that became like my focus. And I had to take my mom to an appointment. It was 6 a.m. in the hospital, and I was a little cranky. It was early. It wasn't that far, it wasn't close to home. And the woman, the receptionist, she just, you know, rubbed me the wrong way that particular morning. And I would see her a few times a week, and I felt out of alignment because it was bothering me. And I was like, oh gosh, like that just was, I felt wrong about it. So I knew I'd see her a few days later, and I happened to run into her in the cafeteria of the hospital. And I stopped her, and, I just, tapped her on the shoulder, and I said, I don't know if you remember me, but, I was here earlier in the week with my mom, and I want to apologize to you because I was a little rude, and I'm so sorry. It was early in the morning, and, I've been worried about my mom, and, and you didn't deserve that. You were just doing your work, and it had nothing to do with you. And she was surprised, and she said, oh, like, thank you. That was very nice of you. And I said, no, I just wanted to say that. And I remember early in the process when I was talking to a mentor of mine, he said, make sure you're not doing that expecting something. And then I had to kind of ponder on that. And I was like, oh, like, I wonder, was I? As I do it more and more often, just as now that being a part of my word that I want to have integrity, now it's just second nature. Whether they respond, they acknowledge, I don't care, but I want to be complete with whatever I may have done that put me out of alignment. But so I just go back to mindfulness, that it's that simple thing of just being mindful of everything has made a huge impact on my life that I didn't realize previously.
I mean,
Danny?
keep it simpler. Did it make you feel good to do that when you spoke to her? Yes. So you don't have to overthink and go, and though it's okay because that's how you learn, but you don't have to overthink and go, well, what was my purpose for doing that? Or what was I mean, it made me feel good. And I thought there was a miscommunique going on, and I wanted some clarity with the person. I felt good about doing it. Your higher self clearly was guiding you there, and just kind of run with that. But I mean, you're allowed to ask questions. Why? But don't beat yourself up by asking questions about every single thing when it's just, I'm just doing the right thing. I'm just doing the right thing, and I felt good about it. And she wound up being appreciative of it. Probably had no idea you were feeling that way because she's got her own things that she's going through. And then you're overthinking, oh, she must think this about me. And she's like, I don't even know who you are. Who are you? She's busy doing her own thing. And that's something, I mean, you have to go through life in order to learn these lessons, realize most people probably aren't even thinking about you, But if you're feeling a certain way, just follow your gut, your higher self, and say something nice and move on. And if you see that they're not responding in a certain way, then that's them, but you did the right thing and you feel good about it. And if they respond in a positive way, then you have a double good thing going on there because they were cool and you were cool. But your happiness isn't contingent on how they respond. It's only on how you felt about doing it. It's just an extra nicety if they respond nice in return.
Absolutely.
I think on that note, I feel very complete. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to just, I was going to say meditate, but yeah, it's like I'm in a peaceful place. I think I should just call it a night before, something alarming occurs. Or
if you journal, this is the time to journal and go why you feel so good and just talk. I mean, this is a perfect time to do that and just let it flow. And you may have things come out that you don't even realize about why you feel particularly good right now. And that'll help you to understand you as a person better.
so on my journal, I need to speak to Michael, Terrell, Danny, and Monica every week on Wednesdays at 5 p.m.
You absolutely got this.
Yeah, it's not about us. Remember, it's inside. There's no place like home. Get out your ruby slippers and just, there's no place like home. It's not us. It's you.